Hey, you guys, welcome to our Tuesday Night Live. This is Lisa Nicole Alexander, founder and executive director of Stand Up Survivor. And I'm so excited. I have Miss Evelyn Herrera Jackson. She is the director of outreach services with Osceola County's only certified domestic violence shelter, Help Now. Did I get that right, Evelyn?
You got that right. Hello,
I
everybody.
did.
How you doing? Yes.
I'm so excited. So you guys come on in here. Tonight we're talking about safety planning. So when you do pop on in here, we're going to do some little housekeeping and we'll get started, Evelyn. When you do get in here, go ahead and tell us where you're popping in from. Tonight we're talking about something that's really, really important. So if you happen to be a survivor and you're already out, you definitely want to share this. We are safety planning together. We're walking you through, hey, Donna, how to safety plan. And trust me, someone you know on your timeline needs this, right, Evelyn?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Safety planning is important to talk about because when you're preparing to leave is the most dangerous time for a survivor. So we'll talk in detail in the stages. That'll be awesome.
Yep. Hey, all the way from New York. Hey, Donna. Hey, Dee. Hey, Tanya. We're glad that you're here. All right, from Tennessee. Hey, Tommy. He's a male advocate, always representing for the men, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're excited tonight. We're talking about safety planning. Like Evelyn said, it's critical. A safety plan is so important. But Evelyn, let's be honest about it. Sometimes you don't have time to safety plan. It's an emergency.
Absolutely. And you know what? We always base the safety plan. All safety plans need to be personalized, individualized. Now if you Google safety plan, you'll have a variety, but you understand survivors come from different cultures, different varieties. So it is always important to safety plan individualized, and the safety plan has to come from the survivor. So we'll talk a little bit, and we may be talking in general, because clearly we don't want to give the abusers clues, but what we're doing is giving a template of what to do to maintain their safety, whether they're staying home, whether they're preparing to leave, or even when they've gone and being safe in their home. So we'll just give a little bit. It's about today. We're just including people in conversation. We want to have a talk, and as you would a person that you're giving or helping develop their safety plan.
Yeah, so if you guys have questions, please go ahead and put it down in the comments. Evelyn, how long have you been working with survivors of domestic violence?
Oh, forever. My goodness. I am going on 22 years. And it's been a blessing. And I think that for us advocates, there's a lot of delayed gratification. So, and the blessings come. So, when you get a survivor like yourself that has been there independent and be able to share her story with confidence and be able to pave the way for survivors to think that they have no way out, which is unfortunate that we have victims that feel that they feel trapped because, again, that's the abuser's manipulation talk. And I say that that's stinking thinking. So we have to help the survivor unravel herself, feel comfortable so that she can move forward and do it safely, which is important.
Absolutely. 22 years you've dedicated to this. And it is delayed gratification, but I cannot even imagine how many lives that you ended up saving as a result. Hey, Tanya from Canada, domestic violence advocate. Safety plans they really, really are important. So let's just dig in. And I love how you talked about initially safety plans. They're not one size fits all. They are specific to you as a survivor of domestic violence.
Absolutely. You have to understand where the survivor's coming from, what she's been. And again, the disclaimer is that I'm referring to survivors as she's, because the majority of victims are females. And most often time, male survivors may not necessarily fear their female aggressors versus the female fearing their male aggressors. And we know in same-sex relationships, I used to listen to Tom Joyner in the morning, same sex, same problem. The dynamics is the same. So abuse is abuse. So when we talk about fearing your aggressor, whether male or female, there's certain dynamics that happen in the relationship, and you have to talk to the survivor in order to get the details. How can I help you help yourself type? So it's important.
That's a really good point, because every survivor, first of all, they are the expert on their abusive relationship. Absolutely. They are the expert. Hey, all the way from Liverpool, England. You guys are back in lockdown. Hey, so they're the expert on their. So my safety plan is not going to look like the next person's safety plan. Okay. And there's also different types of safety plans. So we have to. So we're going to do a few tonight. Safety plan if you are still in the home with the abuser, right? Then we're going to safety plan when you're ready to go, which, like Evelyn just said, is the most dangerous time. And then when you're out, how to remain safe away from that relationship. Because we also know that the abusers are not happy for you to leave. And so it is very dangerous at that time. So let's start with okay, let me give you the definition of a safety plan, because I posted it earlier and somebody was like, what's a safety plan? A safety plan is a personalized, practical plan to improve your safety while experiencing abuse, preparing to leave an abusive situation, or after you leave. It's meant to keep you and your children safe. Okay. So Evelyn, can we just start with, if someone is in an abusive relationship right now and we want them more than anything to stay alive?
Absolutely. Well, the most important thing is know your place, know your apartment, know your house, know it as if, you know how we practice when we're in our workplace, an escape route?
Yeah.
Similar to that, the survivor needs to know her escape route. If something happens, where should I run to? Okay. Mm-hmm. Which route should I take? Mm-hmm. If she's on a second floor, maybe even purchase a roll-up rope stair ladder so that she keeps it in that far room, so that if she has to leave, she'll know how to exit from that route. And we've done this with survivors all the time, that even with the children, practice like a fire emergency. Hey, there's a fire in the house, and then everybody knows the emergency route. Little do they know they're practicing the safe route.
So Evelyn, I'm going to interrupt. I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you real quick, but just listening to that, it is just hard to hear, because I have to now teach my children a safety plan from their own, probably their father or whoever my partner is. And my kids, even now they're in COVID, like they learn from home, they still have fire drills at school. So you're literally just teaching what to do to keep yourself and us safe.
And you know what? And like something simple too, like keep your keys, and let's say your whatever bag you're carrying with your vital information, just keep it readily available. If it's at close to the front door, if it's where it's had hands reach, because you know what? Abusers tend to take, that's the first thing they take. How is it that women carry everything in their purses? You know what I mean? Yeah, and sometimes little things that are not essential, but yet they're meaningful. So sometimes keep it basic, but the things that you definitely need: medical cards, ID cards, your keys to your vehicle. And even with that said, you should always have a secondary set, maybe with a friend's house. So you listen, saying, you know what, in the event, what if he takes my keys? That happens all the time. Well, to restrict you or keep you from leaving, the first thing they do is they hide your keys or they hide your wallet. But no problem, because little do they know the neighbor across the street has an extra set. Okay. Or in the back bush in front of the yard, I have a little hefty bag that has my things buried on the corner. In the middle of the night, you get your stuff, you get out, and you're ready to go. So,
and it sucks that you have to do that, but those things are necessary, because you know that you're living in a violent relationship. You know that it's unknown how they're going to come home and behave. So it's important that you have these things.
Absolutely. And one thing to keep in mind is definitely know your neighbors. Sometimes an abuser does not or prevents you from getting to know your neighbors. Yeah. So knowing who your neighbors are, and maybe having key words, safety words that can cue them. Or let's say, for example, you come home, he's in a terrible mood or whatever, says, listen, I got to call Susan because I told her I was coming over to play bingo, or I was coming over to play spades. So you give Susan a call and saying, Susan, I can't come over to play spades. Now, unbeknownst to him, you had no plan. But that's your key word with your neighbor, Susan, knowing spades, something's wrong at my house. Please call 911.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's if you know your neighbors. What if you were restricted from even getting to know somebody, but maybe you have a friend, a coworker, and say, you know what? Every night, pass by my house. If you see a red towel hanging from my second floor, something ain't right. Please call 911. And it's something that he may, that your abuser may not be cognizant of, just hanging a red towel or even a towel, period, outside a window. I mean, little things like that can be, it's about keeping your environment aware, or people aware that you're either safe or not safe. And it's important.
And I think one of the rough things, as a survivor is to think about that you have to do all these things, but it's most important that you are safe. It's devastating to think that I can't believe that I have to live like this, but the fact is the goal is to save your life. So until you're able to get out safely, do these little things. Like if you blink the front light, whatever it is, no one, I mean, we're going to give a lot of ideas here, so you can feel free to use any or none. But just know that we're just giving you different ideas that you can use to make sure that you stay safe. And another thing, go, Evelyn.
No, I was going to say this. And we're giving you templates, things that we've learned from survivors. The one with the red towel was a survivor gave me that. You know what I mean? So that was her creative way of letting somebody know that she was not safe. Again, you devise a plan that you can, and you're able to work it because it'll work for you. Something, and you know what? In moments of crisis, I don't know about you, Lisa, but I know sometimes when I'm in crisis mode, I have to hit pause, because my mind will go run fasting and I may not be thinking clearly. You may have a perfect plan in place, but then in that moment of crisis, you draw a blank. But one thing that you should definitely know, you know what? If I have to leave, okay, keep in mind, and some women feel confident that they can tell, I'm leaving you. I'm leaving you right now, announcing.
We don't recommend that.
we don't recommend that, because you know what? It's about power. How often you talked about, it's all about power and control. When an abuser has control and he restricts your movement, he's winning, because he's the one in control. The minute you show that you're empowered and you're preparing to leave, then that's his trump card. He no longer controls you. You become independent. You feel confident that you can tell him, I'm leaving, regardless of the consequences. And that is when he brings his control up to a different level, one that you may have not experienced, where that can be the most dangerous. So we know that there's 3 factors involved when lethality is high. And that is when you announce that you're going to leave, either you've called law enforcement, or you've even done legal matters like a civil order for protection, or calling 911 to press charges. Okay, that lethality goes up in your relationship. So you know, not the normal person that's been aggressive, he's going to be more aggressive. So one of the things is that, you know what, I'm not telling you to be quiet, because this is your home. You're able to voice your opinion or voice your statements whenever you can. But maybe at this point in time, it's important to choose your words wisely, so that he won't restrict your movement, so that you can say, you know what, I'm going to the store to buy something. Little does he know you're going and you're not coming back. You know what I mean? But you have to just be careful, because announcing you're leaving can definitely be have a fatal outcome.
And sometimes, like we are, we're as women survivors, sometimes we get slick. I mean, we're sick of it. We're done. I'm leaving you. Forget it. I'm taking the kids. You'll never see us again. Don't do it. Not only, it may have felt good saying it, but I promise you, it's dangerous for you and it's not worth it. They don't need to know you're leaving. I often talk to survivors, say, I'm just going to let them know I'm leaving. And I'm like, okay, well, why? What is the reason behind deciding that you want to tell them you're leaving? You can put yourself and the children in danger. That's the whole point of a safety plan. They don't need to know. This is your personal safety plan. We're not, like Sydney said, don't poke the dragon while escaping the forest. Hello. Perfectly said. No, there's no reason for you to say anything. But Evelyn, you were saying that there were 3 things when the high lethality situation. You said the first one was announcing. Do you remember the other 2?
Yes, it was announcing whether you're leaving. It was filing for an order for protection, or calling law enforcement. Now, when you have a lethality assessment, clearly there's a lot of things. We use Dr. Campbell's lethality assessment, so it's 20 questions, and it has very specific in terms of a good measurement scale to determine whether you're at most dangerous. But what she says, that regardless of how many checkpoints you do in Dr. Campbell's lethality assessment, if your partner is unemployed, that raises lethality. Now think about it. He's not during COVID.
Can you tell them what a lethality is, real quick, please?
It's a danger assessment. You know what? Everybody in a relationship, sometimes while you're in an unhealthy relationship, you may not be able to be objective to see, wow, this is a very dangerous relationship I'm in. But little things like if he's stalking you, okay, showing up at work without letting you know, or let's say he's a clocker. You know what I mean? You left work at 5. It takes you 10 minutes to get home, and it's now 20 after. Where you been the last 10 minutes? If your abuser's asking your whereabouts, or if he feels as though sexual intimacy is required after an argument, that is a red flag. And there's a few.
I have some more. I have some here. Has he or she ever choked or strangled you? Choked you? Yes. Did they threaten to kill you? Have they come up with if I can't have you, no one can have you? The employment one is on here. Have they ever threatened? Do you have a child? Or, children
not
together?
In common.
Mm-hmm. Not in common. Yes, not in common.
Not in common.
Does your partner have a gun, or can they get access to one easily?
Now, so those are some Campbell, those are the 3: unemployment, have a child that is not in common, and whether he has access to a weapon. Those 3, if you know that your abuser has those, then you're in a dangerous situation, because him spewing, you know what? I don't care about my life. I could kill myself right now. As a matter of fact, we had a survivor call yesterday. He shot her and then shot himself, but he thought he killed her. She survived. And that's not usually the norm. Those murder suicides happen all the time. Unfortunately, it's because they figured that they win, because now nobody can have you. So we don't ever want to hear that a survivor is in that awful situation. So we want to prepare you. We want to make sure that you have a plan in place, so that if you know that the relationship is not salvageable, and and oftentimes we hear survivors wanting to fix their abusers, and maybe if they get help. I will share this statistics, and this is a personal statistic, so the validity, I may be off a couple, but I will tell you, in my 22 years, and many abusers have gone through the 26 programs of batters intervention program. Okay, because it's court ordered. You
26 weeks.
26 weeks. Thank you.
Yep.
And it's about accountability. And you know what? Unfortunately, these programs are designed. Not unfortunately. Fortunately, these programs are designed to help the abuser reframe his thinking and take accountability to his actions. And usually by week 15, that they may all still be in denial, okay? But it's up to the facilitator to make them repeat the whole class again. Because if they're not taking responsibility of their behavior, then they're not willing to change. I will tell you, in my experience, and we see roughly 1,500 women at the outreach office alone a year, only 2 relationships, okay? Only 2 relationships that I am aware of have been through therapy, been through counseling, not the survivor, because she's not sick. It's the one that's needing the power and control, and worked on their relationship. And so, but most of all, even
2 in 22 years.
2 in 22 years that I am aware of.
And their statistics are average, because the statistics are very thin for abusers that decide to change. And that is 26 weeks is a long time. Half of them don't even get through it. Then forget it. It's not, I don't have the problem. They have the problem. So thank you for sharing that. One of the things I wanted to touch on is that abuse thrives in silence, right? And so even if you tell the neighbor, or you tell someone at work, we'll get into the workplace one in a little bit, but you telling someone not only puts it out there into the world, into the air, and into the atmosphere, but it also lets someone be able to be there for you, or support you, or look out for you.
And sometimes survivors are resistant to tell people their business. Now, that may be cultural, because how oftentimes, even me growing up in the New York City area, I remember my parents telling me, what happens in the house stays in the house. But you know what? Your blessings should be shared. You know what I mean? If you're in a healthy relationship, it should be shared. But usually when an abuser wants to maintain control, that's the first thing they say. You don't tell anybody what's going on. And I will tell you another truth. Abusers behave one way in public,
of course,
and they behave another way in private. So that man you see in private is not always the one that he presents himself in public. So oftentimes, you know what, when you want to tell somebody this man is abusing me, they
wouldn't believe you.
They don't believe you. They don't believe you, because you know what? Guess what? Not him. He's the deacon at church. He's always helping out. He's the coach.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, he holds a prominent position in the community. Mm-hmm. But you know what? It's not even about their position. It's about power and control. Now think about this. Abusers don't act crazy in front of the judge.
They don't. Nope. Or at work on Monday.
Absolutely. Or he doesn't have to worry about going to work with bruises, but yet the expectations for us as survivors is different.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But Bella, you had a really good point. It is Bella. She had mentioned that it's hard for victims of abuse because there's nowhere for them to go. And it's just a very true statement. It is just a true statement. One of the things, Evelyn, I'm going to share with you as a survivor to you, it's like, I hate the whole fact, don't even get me started, that as victims of abuse, we have to leave our own home, the safety and security of our own home with our children, leave with nothing, and they get to stay in the house and we end up having to start over from scratch. I'm not going to stay on that topic long, but I'm just saying it's one of the biggest pet peeves that just needs to change.
And you know what? It is designed to change. It is there. I'm not saying it's there for everybody, but it's all about taking, it's that understanding that it's his house. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, if you're married, it's joint properly. Yeah. I never forget a true story. We had a survivor called the shelter hotline, and she resided in Windermere. And anyone that lives in Central Florida knows that Windermere is a very affluent community. And apparently he was a coach at a prominent college close by. Okay. And what happened was she was from South America. She had a driver's license, and she had a small baby. And she called to say, how do I leave the house? And I said, where is he? Well, he left her $20. He was gone on a road trip with the team. He left her $20, took the phone. He told her not to. So she was calling me because she had purchased a separate phone or whatever and hooked it on. Now, I'm probably dating myself because it was before cell phones were as easily available. Okay. So at the end of the day, she called and says, you know what? I would love to leave. I want to go back to my support system, which was in South America. She didn't have access to call. And I said, well, can you leave the house? She goes, yeah, the 2 vehicles are parked, but he said, I could never drive it. I said, do you have a driver's license? Yes. Were the vehicles acquired after you got married? Yes. Are they registered in both your names? She says, no, they're registered in his names. But you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm not a lawyer, and I won't pretend to be a lawyer, but it's very clear. Items purchased during a marriage is joint. Okay. I said, baby, which car do you like the most? Oh, I like the Jaguar. Well, then you get the key and you take that Jaguar and drive wherever you want. You could drive right here if you want to. So again, it's important for survivors to know what their rights are.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because the abusers tend to keep you blind to restrict you from doing anything. And for her,
and that's their goal. That's their goal. That's their goal. And they try to use the children. I'm going to take the children. You don't have a car. You don't have a job. I'm going to take everything. You can't do anything without me. I wanted to address. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, that's the oldest trick in the book. You know what I mean? To create dependency early on, to tell you, baby, you don't have to worry about anything. Let's have a joint account. We don't need your car. We can use our car. As a matter of fact, you could give up your apartment. Let's live together. So little by little, that abuser, and I heard this from a testimony, little by little, this professional woman was giving up things that belonged to her. And at the end of their 2-year relationship, she found herself no bank account, no vehicle, no apartment, no, you know what I mean? She was restricted down to none. And that's when the survivor feels as though they have no choice and that they can't leave because they don't have anything.
And I think, Evelyn, that's why it's so important. That's why we do what we do, because we want that woman or man, whoever the victim is, in the beginning to recognize these red flags. Wait a minute. Why do we only need the one car? Wait a minute. Why this? Why that? Because we don't want you to get to the end, be completely depleted financially, emotionally, and physically, and then realize, oh my goodness, I didn't recognize the flags, and that's why we do what we do. Pauletta, I just want to say to Pauletta real quick, I'm so sorry about the loss of your daughter at the hands of their abuser. That is devastating. There really are no words. I know this is just something, there's just no words for that. But anyway, go ahead, Evelyn. I'm sorry.
No, and I'm sorry to hear that. And unfortunately, I don't see any comments. So I can't reply to any of them. So I apologize So just let me know if you need me to
you know
comment
what?
on
If you
anything.
on the right hand side, if you see comments, just click on that. Not the private chat that we were having, but go to comments. You see
Oh,
them?
beautiful.
Okay, there they are.
Okay, technology is a beautiful
Okay.
thing.
Yasmin, love you too. Thank you for popping in. I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that these lives are helpful for you. So
Oh,
okay, so
wow.
we were there they are. They're all right there. They
Yes,
can,
I see that. Bella, definitely. I don't trust a charming man either because,
yeah.
in the beginning, they're all charming. And they're all charming. And that's sad that many women fall prey to these charming men because, in the beginning, they're not telling you their true self. So, you know what? I come from old school. So get to know somebody. And you know what I recommend too? Google them. You'll find everything on
Absolutely.
the
Background
internet.
check.
Do
Pay for your
not. Oh,
background check.
absolutely. Oh, yes. Yes,
It's
yes.
not they don't have
Listen
to
up.
like it. If you don't want me to do it, don't worry about it. I can't be with
Yeah,
you, but I'm doing a
that's
background
right.
check.
That's right.
I wanted to touch on something you said earlier, and I shared this in one of the other lives that I did talking about the phone. So he had isolated us. We lived on this mountaintop, and so I had went to the neighbor. It was like a condo conjoined. He had taken the phone. I didn't have access to the computer, nothing. So I asked the neighbor to take me down the hill to the Dollar General, and I got one of those plug-up phones. And
Okay.
so I used it to contact my parents, let everybody know I was doing fine, pretend that everything was okay. So when I knew it was time for him to come home, I would wrap it up. It was one for the stretch, wrap it up, put it in my kids' closet in between their clothes. And that's how I was able to communicate with the outside world. So you do what you have to do, because one of the biggest things abusers do is they'll take your phone. And I mean, if I just ask for, even in the comments, how many phones were broken, because if you have a phone, you can communicate with the outside world, and they don't want that. And so, I mean, gosh, my ex-husband bought me so many phones because he kept breaking them as a way to
And
control.
women tend to fail to mention that when they call law enforcement. And the laws have changed. If he breaks your phone, he's that's a felony because he's restricting your access to emergency services. So
And
please,
intentionally.
yes, please, please, please mention that if your phone is broken in an altercation.
And because it's 2020, there's really no reason for you not to have a phone. Yeah, see, Tanya said, oh my gosh, all my phones were smashed. Yeah, that's one of the biggest tools that they use, because they can control it. Oh, we just need one phone, or we just need one car. Yeah, no.
Everything.
No,
absolutely.
No, we don't. All right. So, okay. Another thing. So if you're in the home living with an abuser, you need to stay out of places such as the kitchen, because the garage, places where there are.
Why the kitchen? Why the kitchen, Lisa?
Well, because the sharp knives, anything.
Absolutely.
It's such a dangerous place. Access to weapons, so easy. So you want to make sure that you stay out of dangerous places like the garage, where there's tools and things that they could use to hurt you. And another thing is in rooms you can't get out of: the closet, the bathroom, the pantry. Listen, let me just tell y'all something. I've been there. I'm telling you because I know. I'm telling you because I've backed myself in the kitchen. I've backed myself in the closet. I have nowhere to go, so all I can do is protect myself. So you want to do it where you can get yourself in a position where you can flee, where you can run. And so that's really, really important. If we're safety planning at home, make sure that you keep yourself in a safe place where there's no weapons, there's no knives, and that someone can help you, or you can try to escape somehow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I saw you about to say something, Evelyn.
No, I was just gonna say that there's a commercial, a Geico commercial, where people are fleeing an abuser, and there's a running car, but yet they chose to go to the garage. I don't know if you've seen that commercial.
No,
but
I haven't.
Oh my gosh, I may use it and saying, you know what? Sometimes in crisis, the clearest path is there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But sometimes we take the road less traveled, and it's difficult.
Yeah. But I think for me too, when I was in it, if I'm in the height of his abuse and I run out the door, that means I'm bringing attention to it. That means, because I know he's going to calm down eventually. So if I go outside, the neighbors will see me, they'll hear me, they'll see my clothes are ripped, they'll see me crying, and that's exposing my secret to other people. And I couldn't do that. That I didn't want to do that. I loved my husband, and I didn't want so it was that sense of still secrecy. And again, abuse thrives in that. And so what we're telling you, and I'm telling you from experience, go out the door, get to safety. If someone can see you, someone can help you. If you run and you cower in the bedroom or somewhere, there's no place for anybody to be able to safely help you.
And you know what? There's a way for him to mask the reality. And one of the things in self-defense, we defend ourselves, you know what I mean? To the point that we may strike back to try to push him away, or or save ourselves. And the sad story is most often women tend to not share. I was defending myself, or I was doing that.
Yeah.
When officers come to the scene, and when we train the officers, we tell them they need to look at everything. They need to interview neighbors. They need to interview to get the full story, because he may have a scratch on his neck, which is clearly visible, but yet she has no exhibiting bruises. And the sad thing, who do they arrest? They arrest her.
Yeah.
Because he's the one exposed with the bruises. So we got to be careful. Please, please, please. I believe it's 18 months ago when they shared that choking has raised the level of abuse. Many women have died after being choked, because that restricts your blood flow. If you don't share that, you need to be checked medically, because you're not safe. Even though he may have been arrested, you have not have been cleared. You need to go and get it checked, because you don't want that to come back with other physical problems.
And I promise you, it happens. And it said the lethality is higher with the choking. So don't think, oh, they just choked me, held me up against the wall. No, that they could kill you that way. So it's very, and Pauletta, you're right. Abuse strives in embarrassment. And that's why we don't stand up at the top of our lungs, even after we're out of our abusive situation. Oh, look what happened to me. Look at this. No, because we're ashamed. There's embarrassment. Listen, use your voice. You tell a police officer, this is what happened. This is how it happened. Evelyn, I remember, I told this story for those of you who watch me all the time, but I was in the judge's office, judge's chambers, trying to get a divorce. And I was telling the judge, I need him to go to Batterers Intervention, the 26-week program. I said, because no matter who he's in a relationship with, he's going to continue to abuse them. I said, please, Your Honor, please make him go. And I said, I showed pictures, holes in walls, bruises. And the judge looks at him and he said, did you do this? And he said, no. And the judge looks at me and he says, well, what do you want me to do? And when I tell you, I was devastated. I was just crumbled. And he was able to tell this story. He said, Your Honor, she pulled a knife on me. Now, let's keep in mind, Evelyn, I had a knife in me, but we were in the kitchen and he was tearing me up. I mean, he was beating me down. And so I just reached back and I grabbed the closest thing that I could, and it was a knife. And I was holding like this. This is how I held the knife. I was like, I wasn't going after him like this. Yeah, but this is literally it. But the way he sat in that, you would have thought that I was coming after him with a knife. And that's what abusers do. They manipulate the stories. They manipulate the situation. And the judge looks at me and he goes, did you pull a knife on him? And I'm stuttering. I'm hysterical. I'm crying. Because I did, but it's not what you think it was, that you make up an interesting point. You know what? Women get empowered when they see their partner actually getting arrested. How oftentimes how you see them in vulnerable points? But this is where we need to keep our composure. If we call law enforcement, we need to be clear, we need to be specific, and we need to tell them our truth, because that's our truth. Okay. I've seen where women, when they finally get him and she feels as though she wins, now she gets enraged. It's like, I'm gonna get back at you. And, we want to go crazy.
And guess what? She gets arrested too, because right in front of law enforcement, she's beating him up.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, you know what? They're going to drown themselves in their own water. So we have to be mindful of being calm, collected when law enforcement comes, so that we could tell them the truth as we see it, as we've experienced it. So,
and just say the truth, because what happens is, I know oftentimes when you get out of it, you look back and you say, I wish I would have pressed charges, or I wish I would have called the police, and I personally didn't have the best experience with the police officers, but I know that what happened was because I didn't want to tell them what happened. I'm standing in front of them and I can't, what do I say that they did? The class that I mentioned, Caitlin, was Batterers Intervention, and it's for, usually the courts assign it for abusers who have been convicted or something like that. And it's usually a 26-week course for abusers of domestic violence, if that's what you were asking. I'm not sure, but I did see that question. Okay, let's see. Teach your children how to dial 911 or 999 or wherever your emergency number is. Teach them. I know they need to know anyway. If there was a fire or somebody, they need to know anyway. So if someone is being hurt and they're afraid, they can call 911 and teach them what to say. Mommy's hurt, or whatever they need to, just teach them.
Now, one thing to teach them is definitely not to get in between. Okay. Yes. And unfortunately, when children get in between the argument, they tend to be victimized too. Okay. So again, teach them to go to a safe place. Children should have their own safety plan as well. always good to work with an advocate, a child advocate. I know Help Now has two, one at the shelter and one at Outreach, that we work out a plan with the child where they can identify a safe person to call, a trusted adult to call. They know how to, we teach them how to dial 911. We teach them what are our safe places. You know, oftentimes kids want to hide under, in a closet or under the bed, and that may not necessarily be a safe place, but maybe momentarily to be away from the argument. Yeah. Another thing that, and I know we're discussing a lot of bases, but some parents tend to believe, some victims tend to believe the children didn't see the argument. Now, that's a false statement. False. Okay, first of all, I grew up in the projects in New York. The walls were made out of cinder block. Maybe something could have happened in the next room and you may not hear it. But today, these drywalls are thin. Okay, you can be in the heat of a whispering argument and still your children next door can hear it. So there's a lot of things that, although you may not know, you may be hiding it from the children are very astute. Yeah. They know what's going on.
Or you think you're hiding it, but they know. Yeah, they see the violence, they hear it.
And you need to have conversations, and part of the safety plan is having those conversations that are safe to talk about and appropriate. Not appropriate to talk to your children about adult situations, but definitely teach them reality. You know, that daddy's hitting mom. You know how oftentimes we get moms saying, daddy is on vacation. No, daddy's in jail because he committed a crime against mom, but he'll get help. But for right now, mom and dad are separated. And something with the truth, you can't go wrong. So
but somebody just said in the comments, someone just said in the comments, I grew up listening to my dad beat my mom, watching my dad beat my mom. And to think that kids don't see it, it's just not a reality. And that's something that they carry too. So we always say, you know, we don't want them to repeat the cycle. My ex-husband saw his father beat his mom. And so having a son, I said to myself, I have to break the cycle somewhere. I don't want my son to grow up seeing this and thinking this is the way that you should live. You know, so those are just, we wanted to touch on, we're going to try to catch it all, but we wanted to touch on the things that if you are currently in an abusive situation and you're not ready to leave, listen, me and Evelyn want to stand on the rooftops and say, leave, we want you to be safe. We know that's not always possible. So we want to equip you to be safe within the home. Okay, so let's talk about safety planning when preparing to leave.
Yes, okay. That was what I was going to say. And you know what? What's the first thing? And we could even ask our listening audience, what's the first thing you need? What's important when you leave? What do you need when you leave? Money.
Come on, tell us. Right? What do y'all think? Yep, money.
What do you think? Money,
and that's a lot of times why people don't leave, because they don't have it.
Have money, and you usually remember, because that's the first thing the abuser tends to do is restrict your financial income. So the deal is, well, you know, I started my PhD and I took a psych course before I got married. And I remember the Psycho Woman course, the professor was adamant about, you know what, I still can't understand why when people get married, they have to have a joint account. So I've been married 31 years. I've never had a joint account with my husband. Wow. I've never asked him his salary. He's never asked me my salary. It's a blessing. Yeah, I'm not saying he's a perfect man, though, but I'm just telling you the truth that we've never had a joint account because access to my money is important. But when it comes to the bills in the house, then we came to an agreement. Healthy relationships do that. So for me, if you have a joint bank account, you figure out how to put money aside. Do a bank account. Okay, because with joint bank accounts, there's a lot of tricky stuff there because it may be all your money, but yet when you want to take it all out, there's some things that they'll tell you. You're entitled to that, but there's no question about it if you have your own bank account with your own name that he has no access to. So it's important to maintain some sort. Always have a set of extra keys, and I mentioned in the previous section. Always have a set of keys somewhere, whether for keepsake, whether it be with a family member, a trusted adult, a confidant, to have that. And we haven't even talked about accessing, and I like it. K Hart, you're talking the right thing. We're on that language. It's about keeping copies of your, now remember, in the previous segment, we talked about, don't give them any alert that you're preparing to leave.
Yes, but have all these documents.
But have all these documents, copy them at work if you need to. Go to a DV center. We'll let you copy anything you want to. Medical records for the children, if you have medical records, your medical identification, your bank accounts, your credit card information. Slowly but surely, you need to have access to all your credit card information, because abusers tend to have everything in your name, and he'll sabotage your credit that way. And when we're trying to get independent, getting an apartment, they'll look at your credit.
So
You're getting a vehicle, they'll look at your credit. So it becomes difficult. So even when you're putting things in your name, you should put things in joint names, like your electricity bill or even the mortgage or anything related to your livelihood. So it's important to do that.
Evelyn, I want to jump in real quick, because sometimes they'll say, "Oh, well, I don't work," or so say if you don't work, would you go to the store, start collecting some of that change? They give you money, save some of those coins, save some of that change. Or well, I don't really know, he pays the bills, or she pays the bills, whoever the abuser is, they pay the bills. I don't really pay attention to things. Someone said their tax returns. Make sure you have important contact phone numbers. Make sure you know what bank account you bank at, who's the mortgage with. I mean, these sound simple, but you need to know the thing.
Believe it or not, keep a copy of your marriage certificate.
That's important.
You need that. That's important. Where you got married, how you got married, whether it was civil, through law, whatever. Keep a copy of your marriage certificate, because if you do want to file for a divorce, you're going to need documents like that, and those are hard to ascertain. So, there was something else I wanted. Know his social security number. How many of you know your partner's social security number? Okay, believe it or not, in certain documents, you need to know his birthday, social security number, and stuff like that. So, just know general information.
So you guys named a bunch of stuff that you need. Yes, a change of clothes. I know someone shared, and that's important. If you can have an extra bag somewhere, at work, in the office, under your desk, in your drawer, in your trunk, underneath where the tires, anywhere where you can have an extra pair of clothes and important documents for yourself and your children, please do so. I know one of the survivors that I know, she says she slowly started taking clothes. She knew she was going to leave, so she planned to leave. She slowly started taking clothes to a friend's house and left it in the closet. And slowly, before she knew it, by the time she was ready to execute her plan, everything that she needed for the most part was somewhere else. So there are definitely steps that you can take. What else you got? What do you got, Evelyn?
Well, the other thing I wanted to say is definitely when you are leaving, little items like changing, I don't even want to talk about social media, and that's important, that when you are leaving, okay, your social media may have joint friends on them. You need to cut social media 100%.
It's just so dangerous.
Unless you have Shining Flower as your social media page, and he has no access to that, because there's loopholes. Your cousin Susie, if she's your friend and he's her friend, he can get to see your Facebook through cousin Susie and comments like that. Another no is when you're leaving, never take pictures and post them on social media. Pictures have a digital, if your GPS is on in your phone, okay, he can know where you're at. For all you know, he may have a tracking system on you on your cell phone. So it is important to change your passwords in all your access phones, your laptop, your cell phones, any of your instruments that has. True story. A friend of my son communicated with him about maybe 8 months ago, and they had a baby together, but he left. But what she didn't realize, and she had to get a roommate to help with the cost of the apartment. She gave her roommate access to the baby room, and she put the crib in her room. And I say all this to say that she forgot the baby monitor that was in the room. She never changed the password to the baby monitor. She couldn't figure out why he knew all her whereabouts, what she was doing. He was viewing her in the baby monitor. So guys, something simple, anything that can transmit information, you have everything, change your password. And you know what? These, like I said, abusers tend to even use revenge porn. Okay, so things that you've done in private that he may blast, because you know what? You won with leaving, and now this abuser is going to try to destroy your integrity, destroy your image, because he wants to make everybody, because remember, according to his friends, he's not the bad guy, he's the victim, and you're the bad guy. So he's going to destroy you. So sometimes leaving, you need to protect yourself in many aspects, and one of those is definitely changing everything and not posting anything on social media.
Okay? You know, it may feel good. You may have gone out with the girls for a drink or whatever, and say, "Oh, downtown at that," and you put yourself in immediate danger. They already know where you live, and that's another thing too. We don't have time to go into all of this, but it's true. They know where you work. They know who your friends and family are. They know these things. So we're doing our best to make sure that you are aware of the signs to look for. There's stuff. Okay, so when someone just said he's asking why my Facebook was blocked. Block them, because my ex-husband was an IT guy. He could get into anything. I remember one time he sat outside and was able to get into my information. He was just smart. He knows how to get into. So you have to protect yourself. Block him. There's tons of ways to do it.
Yes, there's illegal spyware, and for anyone that's IT savvy, you can have your phone and it could be dark, but he's listening to everything you're saying.
And if they bought you a phone, get a new one.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Oftentimes there is an app on there or something that can track you, that can listen. I know people that have done this, that can listen to your messages, read your text messages if you are on their plan or they have purchased your phone.
Yes. Another thing, when you're preparing to leave, do not go to a friend or family home.
It's not safe for you or for them.
That is the first place that they're going to look. So the best thing is to go to a safe haven, a place that he doesn't know. I mean, if you have an aunt in Kentucky, that's the person that he does not know that may be a safe place to go. Because you know what? Remember, an abuser thrives on power and control. And when he has lost that control, and when you left, you have disconnected his control. He is going to try to woo you back, or he's trying to save you back, or guess what? He's going to be angry that you dismissed him this way. So he's going to look for you and he's going to hurt you. And you know what? We know that women go back 7 times. That's the average.
Yep, average.
Okay, at least. And every time you go back, please, survivors, every time you go back, and I saw somewhere where someone said she's a second survivor, the reality is the abuse gets worse, because you know what? You're not going to leave that person again. So I'm going to ante up my game to make sure I have your reign on your control on you. This time is going to be harder. So please be very careful. But definitely do not go to family members. We have read many occasions that the friend who tried to save them ended up being the victim.
Killed. Yes.
What's his name? The football person.
I don't know who you're thinking about.
Oh my gosh, the Juice. OJ. OJ Simpson. Yes. You know, his friend, her friend, he ended up being a victim as well. So we got to be very.
And we know the thing about safety plans, like we talked about in the beginning, they are individualized. They are specific for you. We probably didn't mention some of the things that are specific for your individual situation. You may have children. You may have there's just so many different things that we may not have touched on. But you know your individual situation. So we encourage you to connect with an advocate that can help you walk through how to create a safety plan specific for you.
Now, one safety plan that I want to mention when you're definitely leaving, okay, is because there's joint custody and you're having they have parental rights as well. But if you're alerted, if you have an order for protection and you're keeping safe and you're going through a divorce, but you have the guardianship of your children, he may trick the kids into going with him. So you need to alert the school, and you need to tell the children, develop a password with the children, a password that only you and them will know. Let's say an emergency happens and you send somebody to the school to get the kids. You couldn't make it. But that person will know your password. I was not in an unhealthy relationship, but I taught my kids a password. You never know. I sent my girlfriend to go pick them up. Now, our kids grew up together. My children will not get in her vehicle. And I felt like I've achieved the ultimate.
Yeah.
And our password, I'll just share that with you, was pumpkin. So
Yeah.
so my girlfriend had to call me up, Evelyn, what is the D password? And when I told her it was pumpkin, she goes, hobby dog, pumpkin. And they said, Miss Michelle, why didn't you tell us that? You should have said that
Wow,
in the
that's
beginning.
good. That's good though,
But
because
you
that
have to
teaches
protect. You
them.
just don't know, because you know what? People that violate your children, sexual predators, are
Yeah.
people we know. So
Yeah.
we can't. The kids can be befriend all our friends, but whenever they're saying, "I was sent to pick you up," they got to know the password. So you got to protect
I
yourself.
love that.
So when you're separating, if the abuser shows up at the school already knows that there's an order for protection. Then they won't release the children to him, and unless it was legitimate, he would know the password, and then he would get in the ride with them. But you need to make sure the kids know, mommy and I are going through, daddy and I, or mommy and I are going through separation. This is the deal. I have your guardian. You only will go with dad or with mom with my permission, and this is the password.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, April, glad that you were able to tune in. Hi, Donna. I was a police officer and was a victim twice.
That's cute.
Wow. So I know that we weren't able to really touch on anything, but does anybody have any questions for this woman who has been, I know, been on for an hour. She has been an advocate for 22 years. And then, so if you have any specific questions that you'd like to ask her quick, I know that she will be. Yes. I also make sure you get your children's birth certificates, social security cards. You can get, if they won't give you the original ones, you can get other ones. So you reach out and get them. My best friend, she was like, I don't have a fax. So she's like, you need to get the scanner. I'm like, what? It's Adobe Scan on my phone. And so now I fax from my phone. I take the picture of whatever document I need and fax from my phone. So if you can't remove the documents or you can't keep them, at least you have a photocopy of them and you scan it to your email and save it. That's really important. You're welcome. Thanks so much, Tanya, all the way from Canada. I'm glad you tuned in. Any questions that we have before we let Miss Evelyn go? Thank you, guys. Hey, Sky. I want you guys to know. So on Thursday, we're talking to an ex-Marine with Forever Your Overwatch. So me and Evelyn, we got through the first parts of getting you through a safety plan, preparing a safety plan for you to leave. We're going to talk about how to protect yourself in your home once you leave. And so we'll talk about that on Thursday. Hey, Abu. Hey, Abu. Hey, Dr. Abu. Hey, we're representing for well today, Abu. Yes. You tell Dr. Patel we're out here. Okay, anybody have any other questions? So we just want to make sure that you are safe. A safety plan. You want to answer Bella's question?
I see that right now. She's saying, why do men think that you have no privacy when you're married? In a marriage, you're supposed to establish healthy boundaries. What I mean? If your privacy is your privacy, but you have to communicate that early on. If it's not communicated, don't expect that to change after you get married. So it's important.
That's a good point, because if you have to establish that in the beginning, there's boundaries and respect in the beginning. And so people think, we get married, it'll change. It's not. What you see is what you're going to get when you get married. Remember that.
I say that all the time. Yes.
Yes. If you didn't have that privacy before, you're not going to get it after. You can just Google safety plan. National Coalition of Domestic Violence has safety plans. We encourage you to get with an advocate. Tanya, I'm glad you'll be here Thursday. He has all this kind of safety stuff. I've had him on before, but we talk about having cameras in your home, locks, and things that are really, really important.
Secure your locks. I mean, you know what? Officers, law enforcement agencies can come to your home and give you a free security check. So feel to do that. If you have to change your locks, stores like Home Depot and Lowe's will rekey your lock. So you don't have to buy a whole unit. They will rekey it for free if you know that you're a survivor for domestic violence. And rekey just constitutes them changing the thing and making a new key for that particular lock. So some women don't, that surcharge of getting a new lock, it can be very expensive.
Say that you're a survivor. It's okay.
Yes.
People want to help you. Tanya, I'm glad that you share this in your domestic violence group. Our goal is to educate and make sure people get it. So Evelyn is the, hey Kay, Evelyn is the director of outreach services for Help Now in Osceola County. She is an advocate. We encourage you to find an advocate that can help you walk through your personalized safety plan. We are not giving you a black and white. It's specific for you and your home and your job. So like exactly, Abu. No two safety plans are the same. Get with an advocate. And so we are going to let Evelyn go. Evelyn, did you want to share anything? I know, like an hour is gone already.
This was wonderful. An hour was gone already. But listen, guys, please, safety, safety, safety. It's important that it comes from you. And you know what? We don't expect you to know it by heart. Sometimes all the aspects can be missed when you're in a rush or you're in crisis mode. So please sit with an advocate, one that is trained, that one that can help you look at the options that you already have innately and develop ones that you don't have. So please, please, please develop one with an advocate so that you can stay safe. We don't need to have fatalities on our timeline. We need to have survivors. Can't take it
no more. Evelyn, we're tired of people dying due to domestic violence.
Yes.
Oh, she said, I go to Help Now for Osceola County all the time. Woo! Look at that. Hey. And I was gonna say, like, you're the expert of your situation. You know your abuser better than us. So we can't say you should do this. We want to hear, as advocates, we want to hear who you are, what your situation looks like, everything, and so that we can help you create a safety plan.
Absolutely. Yes.
Is that every Home Depot? Claudia said, is that every Home Depot?
Well, you know what, you have to ask, and you know what, sometimes an advocate can advocate on your behalf.
Absolutely.
So I mean, if you go to them alone, allow us to do that. And even some agencies may have a small pocket of monies to help survivors take care of those situations. I'm not saying we always do, because our money, money doesn't fall out of the sky.
It doesn't.
But we do have ability to help. And trust me, an advocate that can quickly smooth, that Home Depot key guy with just with a letter saying that, please help her out. And they usually do help. I mean, little things for safety. When I had my mom have a safety check, do you know when you have a garage door, okay, on the sides it has holes? Try sticking a screwdriver through one of those holes. There's no garage door opener that's going to open, just a screwdriver. The law enforcement officer shared that with my mom, and I thought that was great. You know what? Little things like that.
That was good. I didn't know that one. Yes, everyone be safe. You're welcome, Claudia and Kate.
And Sane advocate. Nice.
That is awesome.
Yes.
All right. Yes, you know your situation better than anyone. So we'll see you guys on Thursday. Evelyn, thank you so much. Yay.
Hey, this was a wonderful experience. Yay. I love it.
So glad you're here.
Hey guys, for some of you, look up Help Now. We on our website. We have a lot of activities. Tomorrow, we're having a free workshop in the afternoon. Our website is www.helpnowshelter.org. All our presentations this month have to deal with domestic violence. Our lawyers from our office at the end of the month are going to go through from A to Z about getting an order for protection.
Wait, hold on. Help Now. What is the website?
Helpnowshelter.org. www.
I got it here. Okay, so the attorneys are going to be going through protection orders from A to Z. That's going to happen.
A to Z. It's going to happen the end of this month. I don't have my calendar by heart, but
that's okay. But they can go to the website.
They can go to the website, click on the link, and you're good to go. Sign up for it. Tomorrow, we're going to have a financial safety plan. It starts at 2:30. It's going to be an excellent workshop. And then for our different speaking people, we're going to have a domestic violence 101 in Spanish. And towards the end of the month, we're going to have a domestic violence 101 in Creole. I don't think I've ever seen that. So for our Haitian or Creole speaking population, please tune in, because you never know, you may be somebody's safety plan. And just for you to know and learn to know everything as it is about domestic abuse, you may be within earshot of somebody that's experiencing abuse. And I believe there's no excuse for abuse. And anyone can be an advocate if you can provide assistance. Never get in it, but assistance, and maybe giving somebody a hotline number that they can access services. And that could be somebody's safety plan.
Yay. Thank you, Evelyn. And thanks, Laura, for putting it in the comments. All right. So guys, check out helpnowshelter.org. Who said it's on the 22nd? So you want to make sure there's a ton of things they have going on. I love the attorneys that are going to be talking about protection orders. I love Creole Spanish DV 101 because I know in different cultures domestic violence, it has higher rates and they abuse differently. It's so much.
Yes.
And so I'm glad you guys are touching those areas. So
thank you.
All right, we'll see you guys on Thursday. See you. Thanks, Evelyn.
Thank you for having me. All right,
Evelyn, stay.